Hey, aloha, beautiful human beings all around, anyone who may be watching or listening to this right now. I was very crazily, pleasantly blessed and surprised to see that a bunch of people are still out there watching these videos. Thank you for every single one of the comments. Your comments are just so energizing and motivating to me, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to share your love, your kind words, and all of that. So thank you to everyone who's out there. I'm going to dive right into this. Someone asked a really good question in the comments of the last video I posted, and I'm just going to immediately go into that question. So it's from Darren Hennethin. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Darren. And you go on to say, my father passed away around a month ago, and I think a topic you would have some good insight on is grief and how to deal with it in a healthy way. So first of all, Darren, I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody watching this, and we're sending you all our best wishes, and I'm really I'm sorry to hear about that. It's not an easy thing at all. It's very difficult, and I'm going to go into that. So you do go on to mention a few other things, so I'll just quickly keep reading. You mentioned that you say, I've been numbing myself for 3 years, and I'm thinking that as soon as I stop, life will start again. And I'm a little worried as soon as I stop numbing, all the emotions will hit me like a freight train. So maybe some tips on how to express your emotions or feelings to others in a more effective way, or ideas for decompressing your mind and body after a particularly long and stressful day. Right, so I'm going to just kind of break this down because I think there's 3 different topics here. We'll start off with your dad. I am really sorry to hear about your dad, man. This is something that, we're all going to have to face, and we're all going to go through. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be difficult. And what I mean by that is that from the difficulty of this, you're gonna turn into a real man, But what I mean by that is, you see, our fathers are so important because they're like a pillar. And a relationship between a son and a father is different to a relationship, between a daughter and her father. So for now, I'm just going to focus on a son and a father. From our father, we get a lot. We sometimes don't realize how much we get from our fathers until they're no longer around. I'm sure that you're going through, it's just been a month for you, so you're probably experiencing a lot of different emotions and feelings. Some of the feelings and emotions we're going to feel are going to be like shock, denial, anger, obviously pain, sadness. The anger can sometimes be, we can be angry at them for leaving. We can be angry at ourselves for not appreciating or doing the most we could have with the time we had with them. the shock of it is, it's just something that we never expect is ever going to happen to us. We feel like we see our friends losing their parents, we see people losing their parents, but we just, we know that it's always a possibility with us, but until it happens, I think I can speak for myself and say that it's one of the most difficult things that, that I personally would dread or, fear, and it's just one of the things that we all just don't want to face, where it's a difficult thing to face. But I will tell you this, there's a lot of power and good and growth that will come out of this, and I'm not just saying that to be positive. It's just the truth. It's the truth of the matter. This is nature. It is a natural process that we all are gonna have to go through. And your dad has, as my mom, she likes to call it, and I love my mom and I respect her and I have learned so much from her. She likes to call it the great beyond. So your father is now taking his journey to the great beyond, and you will be taking your journey to the great beyond. And who knows what's going on here. I believe that these physical bodies are the seats of our soul, as the title of that book goes. I believe that our spirits are unique, and our spirits, it's like just a unique energy that inhabits this physical body, and it could wind up being come from a tree before us, or another animal, or another human, or it could have been anything. But it's that unique energy, and that unique energy, can go into a tree after our life, and then that tree will be unique, and we'll have that unique energy. In all religions, there are interesting mentions about, people think that Buddhism is the only religion that talks about reincarnation, but actually in a lot of religions there are little signs that point to it. A clear one is how Jesus, the Messiah, or Muhammad, said to come back, to be reborn, right? The Buddhists believe the same thing. They believe that the Buddha comes back, but I don't think it's just those people. I think it's all of us. We all have a unique, a signature, a unique imprint, a unique energy. You can call it the spirit, the soul. And, it's why a lot of people feel like they know each other, or they've met each other before. They just click with certain people. And, part of it, I believe, is just that energy is when two familiar souls meet again, there's just something there, Your father, who, I don't know anything about your relationship with your father, so I can draw upon my relationship with my father. And unfortunately, my father is no longer in my world. And I can definitely say that, there's several things that a man, a son, will need and miss the most from not having his father around, which is, advice. Like, we love to get advice from our fathers. Our fathers, being a parent is a crazy thing, because, in the end, parents, we as kids, we look at them and we feel they're these superheroes. They're just perfect, and they're, they can't make mistakes, or we feel like they shouldn't make mistakes, they should be perfect, and we put these crazy expectations on them. And guess what? Most good parents feel those expectations naturally, even without us placing those expectations upon them. They instantly feel that they don't want to disappoint us. They know that in our minds, in our view, we have this picture of them, and so many good parents, they try their best to uphold that image, uphold that, by always doing their best to give the best advice, the best guidance, the best leadership, and beyond. So, I feel with you tremendously. I know how difficult it is. And to anyone out there who may have stumbled upon this video, anyone who is going through that, I can only imagine how difficult it must be. And I pray for you. I send you great energy. You will get through it. You know why? Because this is a natural part of life. And the fear of things is always way greater than the actual thing itself. Always. That's something that I can tell you 100% for sure. I want to make several videos on this and on this topic. So I'm really glad that you brought this up, Darren, because there's so many topics in this that I want to talk about. I want to talk about, a daughter losing, her father, losing your mom, God forbid, losing our parents. And not only that, but also there's a fear of losing our parents, especially as we get older, as we get into our, 40s and 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we can, a lot of us can tend to start worrying about things more, worrying as we see our parents aging. I can tell you that it is true from my perspective. I see my mom aging, or my family, my uncles, my cousins, my grandmom. As we see our family aging, it's inevitable that we start to worry and think and dread. We can start to dread things. But as I mentioned, our fear of things is always way, way, way more intense than when the actual event, what actually happens. I remember my mom, who she's one of the most, if not the most emotional, sweet-hearted people on planet Earth. I've learned so much from my mother about spirituality, wisdom, almost all of it, all my goodness, I would say. It's all, I've learned so much from her. From my father, I've learned it's totally different. My father is a very typical, doesn't talk too much, doesn't speak much, strong, alpha male, provider, self-made, had nothing, worked, in a cigarette stand in the 70s, late 70s, to put himself through university and paid for his own college. This story, I'm sure it's like a lot of us who are blessed to have great parents. Our father and our mom are they're different. That we learn different things from them. So my mom, I always was so worried about her losing her father, because I just would see her as being such a sensitive, delicate, loving, sweet-hearted person, and I just always would worry, and I'd be like, how is she gonna cope with that? And I used to dread that day, the passing of my grandfather. But when it actually happened, and my mom actually was able to go through it, it just really was eye-opening for me. I learned so much. I realized that, how life is and how We all will be able to go through it. It's a part of life. And, again, going back to this excellent question you've brought up, there's so many topics in there about death as well, our own fear of death. So anyway, excuse the rant that's about to ensue, and it's already been 15 minutes. But, we all fear death so much. And it's why there's certain people who they just cling on to life and youth with their claws. I don't want to mention Joe Rogan in every video I'm about to make, but he's an example of that. Clinging on for dear life to youth and energy and doing whatever you can, taking all kinds of pills and supplements and steroids and, peptides now. And, there's just it's endless, right? Especially I see that here in California a lot, When I grew up and lived in England, it wasn't as much. People in England were different. People in Europe tend to be different. People all around the world are different. But the thing is that every part of our life is an incredible chapter, and why would you want to just take chapter 1 of a book and just extend it for the entire book? You wouldn't want to do that. You would want to know what happens at the end, right? Most of us, we want to skip to the last chapter in a book. And it's not that different with life either, because in our life, yes, it's obvious that we want to stay young. There's so many great things with youth, but there's also a lot of downsides with youth. We're not really thinking, in a very we're not thinking in a very mature, sensible way. A lot of us we're not thinking at all when we're younger. I wouldn't want to go back to when I was younger at all. It's just everything that we've been through to the point we are today. It was a mission. It was a journey, and imagine having to try to go through all that again. As I said, every chapter of life is an incredible new blessing and gift. And there's so much to absorb from it that if you deprive yourself of those chapters, you're depriving yourself of living a full, fulfilled life. So it's, I think, incredibly ignorant for people to be focused on clinging on to their youth and prolonging that for their entire life. It's not a sign of wisdom at all. As we grow older, I can tell you, from a jiu-jitsu perspective, I've been doing jiu-jitsu 14 years now. I have fortunate to have my black belt from an incredible teacher, Master Leo Vieira, and he's 47, and I don't think anybody in that room, including the 22, 23-year-old world champions, can beat Leo Vieira in a 4 or 5 minute match. The thing is, when you get older, and again, from a jiu-jitsu perspective, we learn how to use our energy more wisely. So when I have competitions now, when I roll against people, compete against people, my energy management is on a whole other level than when it was when I first started. When I first started, yes, I had a lot more energy. I had a lot more just, that excitement and strength, you could even say, but it was leaking out of me like crazy. I was spilling, just spilling out so much energy inefficiently. And it would be a hit or miss if I would be able to blast my energy at someone and be successful or not be successful. But now I apply my energy incredibly consciously. I've got so much awareness when I'm doing jiu-jitsu of when to apply energy, when not to, when to rest, when to relax, because that's what fighting is all about. And these great mixed martial arts fighters, these UFC fighters, they're not only are they young and strong, but the better ones have learned that wisdom of how to apply your energy, because it's all about draining your opponent, making your opponent work and spend energy while you're not, and then you spend your energy in the right moments. So that's the beauty of martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling. But it's also the same in life. As I'm getting older, I don't have the same energy that I used to when I was 21 or 22 or in my teens. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's the opposite of wrong. I am so grateful for that, because it's forcing me to use my energy more wisely. For example, I won't argue or engage in silly arguments with people anymore than I used to. I used to engage with people a lot. Someone would trigger me or say something to annoy or say something to elicit a response, and I would just be ready to go. And I think all of us, we're all like that, we all, when we get our buttons pushed or we get triggered, we just blah, we want to hit back. When we feel like we're hit, we want to hit back. So as you get older and you enter your next stages, the chapters that I'm talking about that are just beautiful chapters, you'll have less energy to waste. So you're going to focus your energy on what's important. And I see this in my mother. I see this in my grandmom. Not all people, by the way, learn this. So this isn't something inevitable that comes with age. There are a lot of ignorant, stupid, older people, We can see them on the news every day. They're leading their nations into, just poor leaders who don't care about their people. I'm not going to get into politics on this video, but since I brought that up on my Patreon, which I've recently just gone back in there and cleaned it up a little bit and reached out to all my Patreon subscribers with a message. On there, I'm going to go into a lot of other stuff that I probably wouldn't go into here. So, there are a lot of ignorant older people who never learn. Some people just will never learn. You've either got a soul and an energy in you that is ready to grow and ready to learn and here on this earth to improve yourself, for the next life, for the great beyond, which I'm a believer in reincarnation, maybe not in the Buddhist sense, but I believe that our energy, our spirit, it's like a unique imprint that has always existed, and it's almost like a star, just a piece of the universe, like an energetic piece of the universe that's just unique, and it's embodied me. You have one, and it can go into anything. It can go into a tree in the next life. Can you tell I'm obsessed with trees? But it can go into a rabbit or a deer, or it could be anything. But that energy will be unique. It's why we sometimes love trees, or we love certain animals, or we love, certain places. So that energy is unique, and I believe that it's, if you look at the Bible, if you look at Islam, if you look at Judaism, they talk about, different stages of heaven, and in Buddhism it's similar. We go through different stages. So, I believe that these messengers, these prophets, the Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, they all were beings on this earth who were able to transcend in a way through meditation or whatever it was. They were able to connect in such a pure, free, free way, like just completely flawlessly surrendering to the universe, that they were able to receive a lot of guidance, and they were able to see a lot. And when they saw a lot, they tried to convey it to everybody around them, and everybody around them obviously would look at them and be like, these people are special, and they would worship them, perhaps, not worship, but follow them and learn from their teachings. But I do believe that, we have that, there is a spirit. Every faith, every great faith talks about it. And, so I believe in reincarnation. So going back to your question, I believe, Darren, that your father's energy is always going to be there. And he's just taken the next step. You're going to follow him. And who knows what lies after this physical material world. Are we going to be reunited with them energetically? It may well be the case. I can tell you one thing, that I don't believe anything bad ever happens. Yeah, you might think, oh, what about what's going on in Gaza or in Palestine or whatnot? There are horrific things that we create for ourselves in this existence, but I believe that a lot of the suffering and the pain that we go through is it's a type of purification, for our spirit. And I'm not a believer in bad things. Like, for example, ghosts and demons and things like that, which I'll go into in another video. But I don't believe there's anything bad like that. I believe that it's also important what you believe, right? So that's an important thing. But let's focus on now. Our parents, our loved ones going to the next world. We're going to go to the next world. It's important how we live our life in this world, because I do believe that the way we live our lives in this world affects the trajectory of us, of where we go in the afterlife. I don't mean that in the sense of we're going to go to heaven or hell. Many of you have followed my videos, know that I believe heaven and hell, it's right here, right now. If you're kind and you're honest, you treat people well, with respect, you treat yourself with respect, you treat this world, this planet, your environment, animals, everything with respect and kindness, that you will live in heaven on this world. And if you do the opposite, if you steal, you cheat, you lie, then this world will turn into hell for you. Having said that, I believe that, where we go after this world is also dependent on our energy, on what we do, So, and I don't think anything bad is going to happen, but I believe that we're able to elevate ourselves in the next life. And a lot of faiths, they believe that we will keep coming back. We will keep being reincarnated until we fully mature and we are purified. It's almost like the fractional distillation process of oil, refining it into, petrol and, ethanol, all those things. So it's the same with our spirit, right? So I know it's going to be extremely difficult. We're going to miss the man, the person who would listen to us, who would give us guidance, who would give us advice. We're also just going to miss the presence of the person, because our fathers can have a confident, boosting presence in our lives. We feel stronger when they're around. When they're not there, we are more exposed and more vulnerable. Our mom is, everything changes. You're going to have to become the man. You're going to possibly have more responsibilities. You're going to have to keep your eye out more on your mom, perhaps. Not just, I don't mean financially, but emotionally or mentally or physically. It could even be financially, right? So when our father is not there anymore, we can fully become, grow into a man. It gives us that space that we didn't have before to completely grow into a full man. And like I said, I'm going to do a video on daughter and father relationship, because that's different, but a lot of it's going to be similar in here too, So while I'm making this video, I'm feeling with you a lot, and I'm I know that it's not an easy process that you're going through, and you mentioned like that you've been numbing yourself for the last 3 years, and I'm going to go into that. Just a few final things that I want to mention about losing your father. I can tell you this, that none of us want to lose anyone, including your father. Your father would not have wanted to lose you. So if you care about him, feel glad and grateful that he never got to see you leave this earth, and that it was your burden instead to see him leave. And I want anyone out there who's lost a relative, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, if you've lost anyone, I want you to think about that you're taking that burden of having lost them, but they've been saved from the burden of losing you. No mother, no father ever wants to see their son go before them. So I'm grateful, and I'm glad that your father got to see you his whole life. And as I said at the beginning of the video, we can go through a lot of emotions and feelings, and this video can really be like a 2-hour-long video. Maybe some of you are saying, do it, but I don't want to ramble on for 2 hours. But another thing that we can feel is like regret. Like, I wish I spent more time with him. Don't feel that regret, because even if you spent every minute of the day with him, it still would not have been enough. Be grateful for the moments that you did spend with him. Cherish those moments. I am sure you will always cherish them. And maybe you might have another question of how to cope. Losing our family members or our loved ones isn't the same as a breakup. It's totally different. It's not a case of we want to now forget them and move forward and not think about them. It's the opposite. Having your father, first of all, genetically, energetically, is always going to be with you, whether you want it or not. You're genetically of him, You're from him. I'm sure you already may have noticed that you have personality or behaviors that your father, from your father. And I'm sure you're going to notice it even more and more now moving forward. And it's something that I'm sure you're going to cherish and be grateful for more than ever. You're going to be proud of those personality characteristics that will remind you of your father, because he's always going to be with you. He's going to be part of you, as I said, genetically, energetically. But in the end, you have so much control over how you want to move forward. Some of us, we didn't have good relationships with our parents. We don't want to remember them, So it's really very complex. It's different for everyone. But I can say that our parents are not perfect. They're just like us. They're doing their best. And if you're a wise and a mature person, you will rise up to the point where you'll see that and you'll understand that and you'll forgive them, because you yourself are not going to be a perfect parent. And being able to forgive them and see them as just normal humans like you, it's going to set you free. It's going to enhance your relationship with them, which is so good for you, for your soul. And it's going to strengthen you. You're going to become a wiser person. You're going to teach people. You're going to just be a better human in general. So anyway, I'm going to move on from this topic for now, because it's a huge topic, and I'm going to make another video about this, post it on my Patreon, and I am going to post a few more videos about this on here again in the future. But for now, this is just more of a reply to your message. All right, so let's just continue here. So Darren goes on to say that, hey, I've been numbing myself for 3 years, so maybe some tips on how to express your emotions or feelings to others in a more effective way. All right, so look, being able to express ourselves to others, is not an easy thing. And I gotta say, it's harder for men. Men and women are different. And if you're a man that didn't get to spend much time with your mom, you're going to be kind of more towards the masculine side of things. I'm fortunate, I'm grateful I got to spend a lot of time with my mom and my dad, so I got a little bit of both. If you have some of that feminine, that feminine side is important in all of us, masculine and feminine side. Women tend to be a lot healthier, smarter when it comes to expressing their emotions. They don't like to hold things in. They like to express and convey. Men, on the other hand, we tend to be totally different. Incapable of expressing ourselves, find it difficult, emotionally difficult. We're afraid of the vulnerability that we feel when we express our emotions. We're afraid of the weakness, and again, like the Joe Rogans of the world or the Jordan Petersons, that's all the Joe Rogan crew. They would not have been big without Joe Rogan. But some people refer to it as toxic masculinity, whatever it is. Like, who's the other guy? Andrew Tate. He's not part of the Joe Rogan crew, but he's like, kind of riding that that male. It's the counter movement to the extreme toxic feminism movement. Everything has its extreme, right? You can be too healthy in your diet. You can be too extreme in religion. You can be too extreme in anything. So balance is always important. So just to answer your question without rambling on too much here, it's not going to happen overnight. So look, Darren, you're not just going to be able to just do it, express yourself easily. It's just difficult for everybody, not just yourself. This is why alcohol exists, unfortunately, because people, alcohol wouldn't exist if expressing ourselves was easy. I'm not saying that that's what we're supposed to do to express ourselves, but that's why those things are there, because people have great difficulty with expressing themselves. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take practice. My advice to you is going to be like, hey, write things down. Either write them just down for yourself. Sometimes like I'll just write an email that I'm about to send to someone. And after I've written it, I feel like I don't need to send it anymore, So I would write down what you're trying to express. That's already going to help you tremendously. So look, to answer your question, you're probably not going to like the answer, but it's going to take a little bit of work. Writing things down helps. For me, I express myself best through music, through writing melodies, writing songs, through my art. I love to draw, I love to paint. I find it very challenging to communicate, express myself through words to people, because I'm a very energetically sensitive person, let's call it that. My senses are more in tune when it comes to energy. Like I can feel people's energy. When I'm talking to someone face to face, I'm not just focusing on the words, but I'm sensing energy, and I can read a lot, feel a lot. People call it being empathic or, hypersensitive, whatever you want to call it. It has its strengths and it has its weaknesses, right? It's almost like superpower. We all have certain strengths and we all have certain weaknesses. So if you're finding it difficult to, let me pull your message back up, to express your emotions or feelings to others in a more effective way. I love it. Look, already by wanting to be better at doing it, you've taken like the most important step, which is you want to learn, you want to get better at this. So you're absorbing knowledge. So my quick tips, write it down, whatever it is you're trying to express. That might be enough for you. That you might find that, damn, that's all I needed to do. That helped me a lot. But isn't it interesting that when we actually are face to face with people, it's completely different to how we imagined it in our mind? Like, okay, oh yeah, I'm going to tell this person how I feel and it's going to go like this. And then when they're in front of us, it's completely different, right? It's the same as like if I'm training in jiu-jitsu and I go for a fight. So, cut a long story short, you just have to do it sometimes. You just have to throw yourself into the fire. And you know what? You're going to make mistakes. It's like my videos, they're not all going to be perfect. They're not all going to have that good energy. They're not all going to, flow very well. But we just have to throw ourselves into the fire. There's going to be some good that comes out of it. And there's going to be something that's not so great either, right? But if we're just going to like completely prevent ourselves from doing it, from taking the step forward, we're going to miss out on so much, in life. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, but I guarantee you the people that care about you the most are still going to be there after the conversation. And if they're not there after the conversation, don't worry about them because they're not they're not supposed to be in your circle, in your group, they're not supposed to be part of your life. They're a distraction. They are not, I don't want to say they're not your friend, but they are teaching you something different. You know, they may not be part of your clan, your tribe. I think you get what I'm trying to say, right? Don't worry about them. They're not important. The important people in your life will be there. The ones who care about you, who love you. You can fumble as much as you want, mess up as much as you want, and they're still going to be there afterwards. So, what did we come up with? We came up with write it down. Number 2, actually just do it, you know? Express your emotions. It could be horrible. It could be like a train wreck, you know? It's okay. You're not the first one. I've been there. I've expressed myself so poorly so many times. Heck, I think I did it just a few days ago with someone. But that's how we get better at it, right? It's the same with anything in life. If you have a fear of being out in public or public speaking, you know, the best way to get better at something is just to actually do it. You just have to do it. You know, my brother, I remember when he was younger, he did something really wise. He used to you know, when you're walking down the high street, we used to live in England, in London. You know, there are those people that they want to ask you to take a survey. And you know, you just never have the time for those people, right? So my brother, he did that for a while. And my brother used to be really shy and very shy person. But after he did that, I noticed a huge change with him. So that's something that I really feel like it's something that can accelerate your confidence, is just being rejected constantly. You know, like that, those people, it's not only just that they're being rejected, you've got to like have some confidence, you've got to spark a conversation, but they are basically getting that shit that we're all afraid of. That's happening to them so much that they no longer care or worry about it. They become trained to it. They're no longer sensitive to it. They're no longer afraid of it. So they've learned to overcome the fear of rejection, right? The fear of failure. So the way that we overcome our fear of things is to actually just do those things, right? We don't want to do them completely blindly. We want to actually grow and learn and improve, you know. But so I would say that, you know, I would just go for it, Darren. Share. Another tip is maybe share with people that you feel safe with, you know. It could be your family, it could be friends, it could just be people that you don't even know. It could be a therapist, a counselor. It could be people online, you know. When I went through my breakup, my first real big heartbroken breakup that I started making videos on a long time ago, I remember I went online and found a breakup website and started seeing people's comments, and I started replying, and then I became friends with someone on there, and I just shared everything with that person, everything about my breakup, and they did the same with me. We became breakup buddies. So, you know, perhaps go online or see if you can find groups in the real world. It could be online that you could find these groups, people that are going through the same thing as you, going through having lost their mom or dad, or going through, you know, the numbness that you're talking about. You know, look, this video is getting really long here, but I do want to talk about the numbness thing. Don't be afraid of getting hit with that, because you say that I'm going to get hit like a freight train with my emotions. That's just like when we eat something bad, right? If we eat something that's not good, let's say like a bad burger, something that's like gone off, that's out of date, you've eaten it. Now your digestive system isn't going to say, stop, we're not going to continue processing this. No, actually, you can throw it up, right? And that's something that our body does. That's before it gets to your stomach, though, right? Once it's in your digestive process, it's not coming out that way. It's only got one way to go. And it's going to hurt. You're going to have a stomach ache. You're going to be like, oh, what did I eat? You know, you could even get ill, but you're going to digest it and you're going to process it. And eventually, your body's going to take whatever in there that was beneficial. There could be some stuff in there that was useful, and it's going to crap out the rest. And then you're going to move on. But even that crappy food that you ate will need to be processed. And it's the same with you numbing yourself because you don't want to face all the emotions, etc., etc. Well, guess what? When you're numbing yourself with whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, meds, you're still like, you're kind of like you're like easing yourself into processing it. So you're kind of like weaning, you're like filtering it. You're like, I want it to be soft at the beginning. So wean yourself off the stuff that's making you numb. Accept some of the pain that's going to come. You know, in wrestling and MMA, we say pain is weakness leaving the body. So don't be so afraid of pain. Feel some of that pain. Be okay with the pain. The problem with pain and depression that a lot of us experience is we feel like it's going to last forever. That's the first thing that we think of, and that's why we're so terrified of it, because when we were feeling it in that moment, we think, oh, this is going to be our life now forever. But it's not the case. It's going to pass. It will pass. You think it won't pass in the moment. You're so terrified of it, but write it down. This too will pass. You know, one of my relatives, he's a clinical psychotherapist, and he's worked with a lot of like drugs. He's taken a lot of drugs before he got into this line of work, LSD, all of these things. I once asked him, I said, hey, what are your tips? Like, because I was interested in doing ayahuasca at the time. And I asked him, what are your tips if you ever go on a bad trip? And he said, just write two things down. Write down or keep repeating to yourself, this is going to end. Because it is going to end. It will end. And then secondly, you know, be okay with what happens. You know, because when we resist what's happening, that's when we make it worse. So allow it. Don't resist it. Try to like allow whatever happens to happen. If you're going to cry for a week, if you're going to cry for a month, just cry. If you're going to feel depressed, be depressed. It's not going to last forever. Obviously, if you're depressed and you're going to be crying and doing all that, do the work too. Read about how to get through it, how to improve yourself, how to get stronger. Eat the right foods. Do all the right things, so it's not just a case of letting it rip and doing the bad behavior. No, let it rip, but continue to live in the healthiest way you can. Okay, so look, I apologize if this video wasn't as smooth. You know, it was just kind of heavy, and I'm going to do a few more videos on this topic. And yeah, man, you know, we're all with you. We're all sending you good energy. We're all praying for you, and we're all going to have to go through it ourselves. So, you know, we'll be blessed if we have people who will sympathize and empathize with us, and you for sure have that. I empathize with you. I'm hoping and rooting for you. I want the best for you, and I know you're going to be great. Don't be so afraid of pain. And, you're going to do things in your own time. So, I've been through that numbing phase. We all, I think, we numb ourselves in certain ways, whether it's with food or sex, porn, alcohol, gambling. Some of us numb it by doing weights, and some of it do it by making money and working. There's 1,000 ways in which human beings avoid dealing with shit. But there's no reason to avoid it. Use it as your fuel. Use it as your fuel. Channel it into something creative, whether it is to build your body, your mind, your spirit, or to actually physically create art, music, a house, a garden, to help other people. That's something else I would really recommend, not just to you, but to anyone out there, is do some charity, help some people out. I every month I have like an auto, I donate to charity. It's like the bare minimum. I think it's better if you can actually interact and help, listen to people. But, pray for other people, because believe it or not, there's some clever psychology to that, where it's going to make you feel really energized. All right, so I hope this helps in some way, and I'm going to make another video, okay? So I may not even post this on my YouTube channel for very long. I may just post it on there for just, a day or a few days, and then I'm going to put this on my Patreon page, okay? And then I'll try and do like a more free-flowing, shorter version of this for the YouTube. All right, Darren, so I'll talk to you in a bit. Adios, and thanks for the awesome question. And there's another question in the comments someone asked, and I'm going to do a video on that next. So adios, everybody. Hope you're all having an awesome day. And I don't know, I did this, and look at that. That is so weird. And then what was the other one I did? This one. Look at that. So crazy. And then this. Is it going to do it? Come on, do it. Well, it did it a second ago. Alright, not this time. But yeah, how weird. What a crazy world we're living in. So I'll talk to you all soon. Adios for now. Bye.